In one of my previous videos, I was comparing the Orbis to the FARO Premium Flash workflow, both with first-person view videos and then the actual processing videos. The two results are I have my training center scanned with the Orbis. We should be able to see the actual trajectory. This is how I walked around. You can also see the accuracy of how I was able to hit the 4 targets that I had here, so everything looks legit. Remember, currently in 2024, in the version that FARO Connect is in, .2.1, we are in metric. There is no way to actually change it to feet or inches or anything, but ultimately it all seems to be working. In scene, I was able to also do the same thing with, 18 scans or something I had here? No, 15 scans that I did with Flash in, about 20 minutes versus the actual, 4-minute or 5-minute walk around of the same building here with roughly the same idea in mind for georeferencing them. So I'm going to actually combine them here today in this video. So for combining this, what I found easiest is I will go ahead and actually rename my project. I'll call this just for reference. It's Premium Flash, and I also don't have. There's nothing in this scan manager. It appeared because I was doing target-based registration, and for some reason it just doesn't get populated no matter what you do over here. So this is kind of irrelevant, so I'm just going to clean up. I'm deleting it. It's not going to change the structure of my points, and my references are still working. If I go locate, it'll still find the actual correct sphere and everything. So I'll hit save here, and I'll say renamed cluster and cleaned up structure. Here we go. That's just a reference for me. And what we will do next is, and this is a little bit tricky, so in order to import the premium stuff, you don't have to do it up front, but yeah, maybe I'll pretend that I didn't know what I'm about to tell you. It needs to be done. But let's go import, and we'll go import. And before you import, and this is where you need to be aware of it, you may want to check in your settings your import units. Your import units, typically when you are coming from a FARO Premium or a stationary scanner, the units don't really matter, but because we're coming in from a FARO Connect software, which is metric, you kind of want to switch this to meters for units to be imported. So let me import in meters, scans. You will have to find where that Orbis project lives. If you didn't change the default location of your Orbis projects, they are in a folder called Program Data. You'll scroll down until you see LiDAR OS. Under LiDAR OS, there's projects. Then you have to find the project that you are referring to. So in my case, this is the back building Orbis. Here we go. G sheet, TSC, TS. There's going to be a couple of files that you will have in the project. One of them is georeferenced, I guess. The registration or the references haven't been applied, and the other one has them applied. And it's an LAZ file. We will open this, and the LAZ file, if you misrepresent the units, occasionally happens that it will come in scaled wrong. That's why we switched everything to meters. So let's just hang on and wait. All right, so we have the data imported. You notice that by default the software decides to dump that file into our existing registration, which now breaks the registration, and you're thinking, holy moly, what just happened? That's okay. That's why I usually right-click my project and create a new cluster and call it again. In my case, I'll call it Orbis because it wasn't Orbis, and I'm just going to take that scan and just move it out. There's actually no need for you to do any kind of registration, because if it was georeferenced in the FARO Connect software, and then you have FARO Scene registered to ground control your regular stationary scan project, then they just need to open next to each other and there's no registration necessary for them. So let me do this. Let me see what it kind of looks like right now. Notice when you bring in the raw data is not going to be project, I guess I shouldn't call it project point cloud yet, but it's not, it hasn't been processed through scene yet. So that's the next process that we will do, but I'll just view the project without anything. We get this message saying, hey, not everything has been processed, and that's really what we will have to do next. But for now, just out of curiosity, I want to see if everything is working. And it did work because I know in my Orbis session there was a van here, and in my scan sessions, stationary scan session, there was none there. So we should see it highlighted here, and you can see that the vans are actually in the right place, and they're not yellow because that's from the Orbis information. So I know they're already coinciding. But again, to finish the whole process here, I will go into processing, and under processing I will skip the already processed premium scans, and I'm going to go ahead and process the Orbis scans now. Orbis scans just need to be created into scan point clouds. So I will uncheck the skip fully processed scans. I will uncheck any settings that I have over here. No filters need to be run through it because we already ran the filters in FARO Connect. So it's really just this thing that needs to be checked. Everything else should be either off or in its default setting here. All right, start processing, and we'll just sit back and relax and wait till this is finished again. All right, so processing is done. We can unload. That means we're unloading it from memory because now we can have the actual scan visible without having to have it loaded in memory. If we view the project, we don't get that message that we had before where it said that some scans are loaded in their raw form. You can kind of see that there's my Orbis data is over there. My scan data is kind of over there, and it's interesting to see that again, those are the two vans that were there with the Orbis and not there during the actual flash scan data collection. Just looking briefly, you'll see that there's definitely going to be a spread on your points. You can see that the premium is your ground points over here, and the Orbis is definitely always looser. That is the nature of it, right? So it's not as crisp as the actual scanner, but it's up to the user to decide if this is worth it. So I mean, obviously we went around the perimeter with flash, every scan being 30 seconds, moving around, 15 scans. Maybe that was 15, 20 minutes of us actually moving around and scanning and hiding. Or if you have an Orbis scanner and you're willing to live with the kind of tolerance that it generates from its moving data set, then, you know, if you do this kind of a comparison here. So let's go in the back here. Oops, too close. But if we look at it, and we say, you can tell that the premium is a fine line over here. It's a corrugated wall in the back of our building, actually all around our building. So I mean, it's got somewhat of a weird wavy pattern shape on it. But the Orbis is, you see, a little bit noisier, of course. But at the end of the day, when you look at the perimeter of the whole structure here, without stopping, you're still getting pretty darn accurate data out of it. With some noise, of course, it's never going to be exactly the same. Hold on, where are we? There we go. So there's slight misalignment over here maybe, but I mean, we're nitpicking here, of course. So let me just do this just briefly. 0.03 of a foot here. So I mean, that's a centimeter, that's a half an inch there in the back. But that is well within reason when you start thinking, hey, how much time do we actually spend scanning something like this? So we are looking at the result from the flash and overlaying the actual Orbis data set here. Obviously, you can kind of, hide one if you don't like to view this guy. You can hide the other, or view this guy and hide this guy. And here we go. Oh, there was a car there before. It's just that it isn't obviously as crisp as it was the day before. But your georeference data set still, stays in the same place, regardless of if it was done with the Orbis or if it was done with the actual Flash data collection technique. So I guess this would be it. All I'll do is just hit let me make it visible again. We have the clipping boxes, which are okay, but we don't need to turn them on. Let's just make them like this. Turn it off. There we go. And I'll just hit save and be done with it. So now it's just a matter of you exporting it or not, up to you. But you can see 4 minutes or 5 minutes with an Orbis versus a 20-minute Flash, really fast, but still Flash data collection in scene compared to each other. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below.